The grand architecture of a majestic building stands under a sky dotted with drifting petals. Inside, a radiant, glowing orb is carefully lifted from an ornate chalice, illuminating the solemn interior where two nuns silently observe. Within a vast hall, a voice declares the suitable profession for the next candidate. Soldier, a young woman eagerly steps forward, her face lighting up with excitement as she responds affirmatively. Whispers ripple through the crowd as Chris Sparring, the twin son of a renowned family, steps into the light. Curiosity buzzes about the job he will receive, while the ritual known as the Ritual of Heavenly Grace looms as a pivotal moment. A narration explains that in the kingdom of Meldrake, every 16-year-old undergoes a ritual revealing their destined profession and associated skills. Occupations span from combat roles like warriors and wizards to non-combat trades such as merchants and blacksmiths. Those granted high-class professions receive special favor from the country, marking the ritual as the most significant event in their lives. Yet, the narration hints at an opposing fate, contrasting the hopeful images of skilled warriors and holy knights. Chris reflects on his father's intense expectations for him to surpass his father's profession, recalling the rigorous training he endured from an early age. Determined not to be ridiculed at the ritual, he steps forward when called. The elder priest announces Chris Sparring's suitable career. The grand hall fills with light as the priest declares Chris's profession. Farmer, with the skill of poison resistance, Chris kneels silently before the announcement. Shock ripples through the crowd as Chris processes the unexpected result. Whispers of disbelief spread among the onlookers. Chris's eyes widen in stunned silence, and a voice shouts in disbelief, questioning if he will truly be a farmer. Chris's older brother Klaus approaches, smiling gently and encouraging him to cheer up despite the shame. Two nuns observe quietly, noting Klaus's kindness and speculating that he must be worried about Chris's profession. The ritual continues as the next person is called forward. Heavy breathing escapes as a worn hand reaches out. Memories flash of relentless training and battles, questioning the purpose of all the effort. The weight of expectations crushes him as he stands amidst ruins, sweat dripping, surrounded by shocked onlookers and a nun covering her mouth in disbelief. The crowd murmurs nervously, noting that the person just received the prestigious holy sword. Some find it intimidating, while others marvel at the rarity. Only the fifth since the first hero, the young man stands confidently, gripping the sword, bathed in radiant light. He raises a hand in greeting, sparkling with newfound pride. The hall fills with awe and admiration as people watch him with respect and excitement. His presence commands attention, and petals or light fragments drift around him, emphasizing his moment of glory. Outside the grand building, an older man with a beard praises Klaus, calling him sparring son and urging him to become a good leader. Klaus smiles humbly, acknowledging the praise. The older man clasps Klaus's shoulder firmly, while Klaus stands quietly, addressing his father with a mix of respect and emotion. The older man clenches his teeth in visible anguish, his face contorted with pain and frustration. Beside him, the younger man stands silently, his expression dark and tense, a fiery aura flickering behind him as he absorbs the weight of the moment. An older man shouts in anger, accusing the younger man of becoming a farmer despite years of teaching and care. He demands he leave his house and scolds him for showing an emotionless face. The younger man quietly apologizes as onlookers watch with concern. The word useless thing echoes as the younger man reflects on being the target of harsh sparring practice and scolding all day. He walks alone through a grand estate, clutching a bag, burdened by the relentless treatment. The younger man pauses as his older brother calls out, asking if he's leaving without a word. The younger man looks down, confessing he saved the family's reputation but now feels lost, his expression heavy with sorrow. The older brother mocks him with a cruel smile, questioning why he shows no gratitude. The younger man's face tightens with silent pain, unable to respond as the harsh words hang in the air. Chris Sparring demands why Klaus makes fun of him, pointing out they have never spoken before. Narration reveals Klaus was very weak since childhood, always cared for by their mother and a doctor. Klaus gradually recovered by age 5 and lived normally, unlike Chris, who was strictly trained by their father and never spared from training. Chris reflects that Klaus seems to dislike him too, ignoring his attempts to talk, and they have never had a proper conversation until now. Klaus suddenly laughs mockingly and taunts Chris, asking why he still doesn't understand. Chris reacts with confusion and frustration. Chris bitterly admits that before today, he was the one their father abandoned. He questions how Klaus, who was born 10 minutes earlier and raised with care, could understand his pain. Chris wonders if Klaus has his own feelings but is haunted by why Klaus must hate him. The memory of their mother and Klaus as a child lingers in his mind. Chris recalls that if anyone wanted to change their fate, It was him. Klaus laughs joyfully, contrasting with Chris's anguished expression as he clenches his chest, burdened by his emotions and the weight of their fractured relationship. One brother boasts that God was on his side and granted him the holy sword, then mocks the other by asking what he has, calling him a farmer. The other brother's anger flares as he yells for him to shut up. The brother with the sword suddenly points it at the other, warning him not to get mad or he might be killed right there. The other brother glares, tense and ready. The brother with the sword smirks confidently, challenging the lowly farmer if he really dares to fight against the holy sword. The other brother breathes heavily, gripping his sword tightly, and replies that he's ready anytime. They clash swords, the farmer exhaling with effort as he blocks the attack. He reflects that despite his profession as a farmer, rigorous training since childhood has prepared him for this, so the outcome is expected. One brother calls out, warning the fight isn't over yet, but the other remains silent, gripping his sword tightly. He declares the matter settled, showing no interest in the weak. Flames erupt around the brother with the sword as he threatens to kill his opponent, a dark aura swirling with his words. The other brother's eyes widen in shock, gripping his sword defensively. The brother with the sword launches a powerful attack, shouting, "Sacred slash and die!" As he swings with overwhelming force. The other watches, bracing for impact. An explosion rocks the area, sending debris flying. But the attack misses. The brother who was targeted sits amid the rubble, breathing heavily and muttering his frustration. He admits to using too much strength, but shock and disbelief flood his eyes as he realizes no matter how hard he tried, the swordsmanship is beyond his reach. His sword shatters into pieces, symbolizing his failure. Facing the overwhelming power difference, he stands defeated before the best profession, unable to comprehend the gap between them. An explosion erupts violently, shaking the forest and scattering debris. A figure stands amid the chaos, gripping a sword as flames swirl around him. He mutters in frustration, admitting to being made a fool once again. The chapter title appears. Chapter 2. Toxic Resistance. The figure, panting and tense, calls out desperately for someone to come back. His voice echoes through the destruction as he shouts the name, Chris, with fierce urgency. The scene shifts to a quiet, dense forest under a cloudy sky. Leaves flutter gently in the wind, emphasizing the calm after the storm. A lone man, breathing heavily, cautiously moves through the forest. Shadows and light play across the trees as he navigates the terrain, his expression weary but determined. A man stands at the edge of a calm forest pond, the quiet water reflecting the dense trees around him. He slowly lowers himself to the ground, his hand trembling slightly as he steadies himself. Sitting by the water, he looks exhausted and unsettled, his foot nervously shifting in the grass. He leans against a tree, catching his breath and reflecting on his narrow escape. Doubt and fear cloud his thoughts as he wonders what to do next. A dark shadow crosses his face, revealing the grim realization that his pursuer was intent on killing him. He braces himself for the inevitable, knowing the threat will return. Clenching a small bundle tightly in his gloved hand, he resolves to hide in the forest, aware someone may be chasing him. He acknowledges his injuries prevent him from hunting for food, leaving him vulnerable, despite the danger. He forces himself to stand and move deeper into the woods, seeking refuge. The man surveys the unfamiliar depths of the Peisha forest, a place he has never ventured so far into despite past hunts with his father. The eerie silence unsettles him. There are no signs of animals or monsters nearby. Ahead, a dark cave entrance looms, hinting at unknown dangers or shelter within the shadowed wilderness. He settles inside the cave, relieved to have a simple shelter from rain and wind after roughly cleaning it out. Standing firm, he knows all that remains is to wait for time to pass. His gaze falls on a large bug nearby, and he grimly admits eating it would be a last resort. Stepping out, he acknowledges the need to eat something despite his injuries. He spots strange plants and recalls his skill, toxic resistance, which should protect him from poisoning no matter what he consumes. Though he never expected to rely on it, he feels grateful as he bites into a leaf. Tasting the wild plants, he notes the leaves are slightly sweet but the flowers bitter and disgusting. He winces at the bitterness and astringency, feeling more tired with each bite. The night deepens as he sighs, frustrated by the meager nourishment. Examining various bizarre mushrooms and fruits, he reflects that the Manga is an exception among wild edibles. The stranger the appearance, the easier it is to eat and find flavors beyond bitterness, giving him a faint hope amid the harsh forest survival. The remaining problem is finding a source of drinking water, but all he finds is a muddy puddle. He wants to return to the stream to get water, even if it takes hours. but he realizes he got lost after going too deep into the forest and can no longer remember the way back. Holding the muddy water, he reminds himself that his toxic resistance skill protects his body from harm. Kneeling by the puddle, he drinks despite the risk, knowing dehydration will kill him if he doesn't. He wipes his face with muddy hands, grimacing at the unpleasantness. The bitter, foul taste assaults him, a foreign sensation he struggles to endure. He gags, lamenting the lack of decent drinking water and food. The night deepens under the full moon, and he lies exhausted in a cave, overwhelmed by hunger and thirst. Suddenly, a sinister smile appears between two figures facing each other. One figure swiftly strikes the other with a powerful blow, shattering the tense silence and plunging the scene into violent confrontation. He jolts awake in the cave, startled by a sudden noise. Sitting up, he notices a faint beam of light cutting through the darkness. Outside, the forest looms quietly under the moonlight. He reaches down and picks up a large striped insect from the grass. Rain falls steadily as he sits by a small campfire, preparing to eat. He stares intently at a piece of meat held on a skewer, his expression serious and focused. Days have passed since he entered the Peisha forest, and he finally finds meat. Though it's a corpse, this is the first animal he's encountered since arriving, a rare and precious find. The meat smells rotten, but after surviving on plants and insects for days, it feels like a feast. He holds a sprig of rosemary, hoping grilling it with vegetables will improve the taste. The fire crackles as the meat cooks, blackened and seasoned with rosemary. He bites into the grilled meat, grimacing at its awful taste. Despite this, it's the most delicious meal he's had in a long time. Sitting alone in the forest, he devours the food eagerly, grateful for a full stomach after so long. The forest remains eerily quiet and devoid of life, making food scarce. His leg wound has nearly healed, likely thanks to the herbs he consumed. Determined, he decides to hunt more animals and monsters, but only birds chirp nearby. Suddenly, a rustling noise catches his attention, and he sharply turns to listen. He notices fresh traces on the grass and footprints left behind. Accompanied by the faint scent of beasts, cautiously, he hides behind a tree, alert and ready as he senses something approaching. Peering from his cover, he spots a figure moving through the forest. His breath catches as he realizes what it is. The figure reveals itself to be an orc, gripping a large wooden club. The tension rises as the silent threat looms. Attack or be attacked. A towering orc stands in the forest, gripping a massive wooden club. The words "defeat the enemies in front of you to survive" echo ominously. The young man recalls only seeing orcs once before, remembering how his father struggled to handle them without using any skills. He compares the orc before him to the one from his memory, noting that without skills, his father's strength was similar to his own. His weapon is just a homemade axe, and fighting with it is extremely dangerous. Despite this, a fierce determination rises within him as he shouts his desire to eat meat. The young man launches himself at the orc with a swift attack, aiming a powerful strike. The orc remains unfazed, looking down at him with a confident, almost mocking expression. The young man's face tightens with effort and anxiety as the confrontation intensifies. The orc swings his heavy club down with devastating force, smashing it into the ground. The impact sends shockwaves through the earth, but the young man watches carefully, relieved the orc didn't flee. He steels himself, ready for the brutal battle ahead. The young man is violently thrown backward as the orc roars, smashing the ground with a powerful strike. The earth trembles under the impact, but the orc remains standing, glaring down with fierce determination. The young man's eyes narrow, bracing himself for the next move. The orc raises its massive club again, preparing to strike. The young man seizes the moment, leaping forward with urgency. The club crashes down, sending a shockwave through the forest floor as the young man narrowly dodges the devastating blow. With no time to hesitate, the young man swings his makeshift weapon hard against the orc's back. The impact lands, but the orc barely flinches, turning sharply to face him. Sweat beads on the young man's forehead as he grips the broken weapon tightly, readying for another strike. Panic flashes across the young man's face as his only weapon shatters completely. The orc charges forward, closing the distance with terrifying speed. The young man scrambles back, realizing he's now defenseless against the brutal force bearing down on him. The orc twitches weakly but doesn't move, leaving the young man puzzled if his single strike was enough to kill it. The orc struggles to breathe, blood dripping from its mouth. The young man explains the wound was so deep it immobilized the creature, then clenches his fist as blood splatters. The young man reflects on the orc's corpse, noting his skill poison resistance lets him eat the rotting meat safely. He resolves to make the most of the kill by turning it into something delicious. though lacking water limits his options. Struggling under the orc's massive body, he decides disassembling it here would be too difficult to transport, so he opts to carry it back to base. Despite the weight, he finds it lighter than expected and prepares to move forward. After a brief pause, he surveys the neatly cut chunks of orc meat hanging to dry. He notes how the orc's large body made cutting it into small pieces time-consuming, but thanks to his efforts, he accumulated a substantial amount of meat. He plans to leave some to dry today and tomorrow, satisfied with the day's hard work. The young man, his body still smelling of blood, longs to eat meat as soon as possible but first must avoid contaminating himself in the muddy water nearby. He carefully approaches the water, mindful not to dirty himself further. Meanwhile, meat chunks hang over a fire, slowly cooking. Sitting by the fire, he reflects that orcs are humanoid monsters and that many consider eating their meat taboo. But he couldn't care less in this situation. He notes the meat scent is fresh, not rotten. But the real issue is its taste. Taking a bite, he struggles with the flavor. Suddenly, his expression brightens as the meat's juicy texture and sweet aroma flood his senses, feeling as if the flavor went straight to his brain. He declares the dish incredibly delicious, an excellent meal, while a memory or image of the orc lingers. Exhausted, he admits to having already eaten the meat saved for tomorrow and lies back, abandoning plans to try other cooking methods. He relaxes fully, letting the moment wash over him. He recalls how orcs have thick hair and thick skin, which he knows firsthand after dismantling one with his own hands. Beneath the fat mass, there was armor-like muscle. Until now, it would have been impossible to deliver a fatal blow with just one strike. Yet, with only a wooden stick, he crushed the orc's head and even carried it back to the cave. He wonders if his physical strength is increasing, likely due to the ritual's blessings. Even if his blessing was to be a farmer, the ability enhancement makes growing stronger easier. Still, he feels like it's been over-enhanced. Could it be that he became stronger because he was defeated by Klaus? The same principle applies to muscles. The more broken they are, the stronger they recover. Maybe this phenomenon happened to him. Even so, he feels like he's becoming too strong all at once. Whatever the reason, it's good he was able to defeat the orc easily by himself. He trains by swinging his wooden sword repeatedly near the cave entrance under the night sky. Nearby, the meat he cooked earlier rests on a plate, still fresh and ready to eat. Under a starry night sky, he trains with his wooden sword near the cave entrance, the fire's smoke rising behind him. As dawn breaks, he sits quietly on a hill, reflecting on his progress and the peaceful forest around him. He admits he's been here for a month, finally finishing all the orc meat he hunted. Once, he would have wasted what he couldn't eat, but now he understands the pain of having nothing to eat and refuses to waste what he's killed, even if it's a monster. With all the orc meat gone, survival depends on eating only the poor plants around him. Though he's willing to remain in the Peisha forest a little longer, he hopes the unrest will settle so he can leave for a city. For now, his goal is simple: live and train to become stronger. His thoughts turn to his father and Klaus, vowing to surprise them with his growth. Determined, he looks ahead as the forest and river stretch quietly before him, ready for the challenges to come. Gasping for breath, he emerges from the water, relieved to have returned to the spot. Floating calmly, he reflects on how, after a month without clean water, he's been surviving on muddy water and rainwater. The simple taste of clean water stirs deep emotion within him. Eyeing his tattered clothes hanging from a tree branch, he admits he can't leave the forest wearing them. He decides to tie a leather bag made from orc skin around his waist instead, reasoning it's better than risking being seen as an exhibitionist. The chapter opens with a quiet forest scene under the moonlight, transitioning to dawn as a lone figure walks through the trees. The title appears. Chapter 4. The Realzad City. The man, Chris Sparring, stands before an imposing city gate, awestruck, whispering, "This is?" Chris steps into Realzad, a bustling city filled with grand buildings, carriages, and crowds. He notes it's the neighboring city to the royal capital Meldrake, prosperous and crowded. Though far from his hometown, it's a good place to hide. Above all, he feels the city offers him safety and distance. Chris reflects that Klaus, having received the grace of the Holy Sword, is likely summoned to the royal capital now. He spies on Klaus' movements from this nearby place, using it as a base to ensure his own safety. Around him, rough-looking townsfolk eye him suspiciously, but he remains calm. Passing through the city inspection, Chris is relieved the check was by the book. No weapons found, so he's allowed in. He grimaces at his ragged clothes, feeling conspicuous, holding a few coins. He resolves to first buy food, then find lodging and finally acquire weapons. He admits to himself, "I need more money now." Chris enters a props shop called Gold Bone, where a polite clerk offers to guide him to the appraiser's room. Chris thinks about selling stolen items for cash, hoping a large company means less chance of being ripped off. The clerk announces a customer, and an older man with a monocle scrutinizes Chris carefully. Chris feels uneasy but is welcomed nonetheless. The door slams behind Chris as the older man voices his distrust, questioning why such a customer was allowed inside. Chris apologizes quietly, realizing his ragged appearance makes it hard to be trusted. He admits to himself that he chose the wrong store. Outside, a hooded figure watches silently from a shadowed alley. The scene shifts to a rundown part of the city, emphasizing the stark contrast with the prosperous areas Chris has seen. Chris walks through a marketplace filled with tents and stalls, noting how different this area feels from the rest of the city. He can identify what some stalls sell but is baffled by the tents. When a hooded person suddenly grabs his arm, Chris is startled, realizing it's rude to peek inside but wishing for signboards to clarify what the tents offer. A hooded figure stands silently, their face shadowed beneath a cloak. Chris asks if they are lost, concern in his voice. The figure quietly clenches a small, stitched pouch in their hand before suddenly hurling it forward. The pouch strikes Chris violently in the face, shattering on impact. Shock and pain flash across his expression as he reels from the unexpected attack. Chris clutches his face, wincing in pain and demanding to know what the attacker is doing. The hooded figure turns and flees swiftly, leaving Chris frustrated as he checks his torn pouch. He curses under his breath, anger rising. Chris realizes the hooded figure has stolen the goods he had already stolen. He shouts after her, pushing through the crowd in pursuit. The figure moves quickly through the marketplace, and Chris spots her ahead, determination burning in his eyes. The hooded figure darts through the bustling crowd with practiced ease, slipping away faster than Chris can keep up. It's clear she's accustomed to disappearing into throngs of people, making her a difficult target to catch. Despite his efforts, Chris's hand reaches out in frustration, unable to grasp her. Chris finally catches up and grabs the girl's arm firmly, scolding her for taking advantage of others' kindness. She looks startled and flustered, her wide eyes peeking out from beneath her hood. The girl's surprised expression contrasts with Chris's stern reprimand, emphasizing the tension between them. The girl struggles and protests loudly, demanding to be released, but Chris warns her not to shout or he'll punch her. His grip tightens as he studies her face, realizing she's not a child as he first thought, but about his own age. The girl's expression softens, trembling nervously as the alleyway confines them. Chris questions why she stole his belongings, suddenly feeling conflicted and unsure if he's in the right. The girl covers her mouth, tears welling up, unable to speak freely. When pressed, she admits she fears being beaten if she tells the truth. Chris's stern warning to confess or face a beating himself only deepens the girl's distress, leaving the air heavy with unspoken pain. He insists there's no reason behind his actions, only the bare necessity of survival. The girl quietly admits that's why she became a thief, though she won't explain further. He doubts her, wondering if she's lying or simply foolish, and asks if this is her first time stealing. She nervously tells him not to ask. He presses her about having parents and weapons, but she denies both. When he asks about accomplices, she laughs nervously, hesitates, and then panics, denying it outright. He silently judges her a terrible liar. He warns her to stop lying and tell the truth or he'll hand her over to the soldiers. She pleads with him not to do that, confessing she doesn't want to face the authorities. She reveals she has one accomplice living with her in an abandoned building, who also works as a thief. He listens carefully, absorbing the information. He asks where this accomplice lives and if they're nearby. She sobs quietly but points toward a nearby building, explaining that if she can reach it, she'll be safe. Meanwhile, the accomplice waits anxiously inside, worried and wondering why she's late, fearing she might have been caught. The young man curses loudly, gripping his sword sheathed tightly in frustration after being caught. The girl beside Klaus admits nervously that she got caught, while Klaus remains stern and watchful. The young man demands why the girl brought him along, pointing out that he was already caught. She explains fearfully that she was threatened with harm if she didn't. Klaus warns them both not to attack, ordering the young man to drop his weapon. He assesses the young man's stance, noting some martial arts knowledge but poor balance, confident he could easily defeat him. The young man demands to know what Klaus wants, insisting they have no money. Klaus calmly warns that if they try to steal again, he won't go easy on them. The young man is surprised by the warning. While Klaus dismisses it as a waste, the young man, resigned, tells the girl he won't ask for money. Klaus offers a deal. In exchange for not pressing charges, he wants information. He admits he's new to the city and needs directions back to the central area. The girl agrees, nervously addressing the young man as the direct culprit. The young man reflects that the information Klaus seeks about the city is extremely important. Klaus demands their names, identifying the girl as Hesta and the boy as Rarf, which shocks them both. Rarf angrily questions how their names were leaked, recalling they had called each other by those names earlier. Klaus sternly declares he has no intention of being friendly with them, while Rarf reluctantly agrees to comply. The trio stands outside a building as Klaus thanks them for their help. Though Rarf and Hesta appear unenthusiastic, Klaus insists that whether they like it or not, helping him changes nothing. Klaus insists they return now but pauses, noting that the most important place hasn't been introduced to him yet. He asks where they sell stolen goods, and Rarf explains it's at a pawn shop run by an acquaintance. Klaus requests they show him the way there, prompting a tense silence. He reassures them he has no bad intentions and only wants to sell stolen goods. Rarf reacts with disbelief and anger, accusing Klaus of being a thief too and daring to scold them. Klaus admits he only stole once, taking his father's belongings, but insists that stealing is stealing, regardless of whose it is, and that Klaus is no different from them. Klaus agrees to overlook their theft if they guide him, warning he won't forgive stealing from him personally but doesn't care about their other thefts. Rarf and Hesta anxiously ask if Klaus won't report them or cause trouble, and he promises to do nothing as long as they lead the way. Klaus acknowledges the place they're heading to is the last stop. The trio arrives at a building and enters a room filled with shelves and drawers. Klaus notices someone inside and quietly remarks on recognizing Rarf and Hesta. An older man behind a counter notices the group and questions the presence of a stranger. Rarf explains the stranger wants to sell something, though they just met him today. The older man, intrigued, accepts this and prepares to proceed. The older man asks the stranger for his name. Klaus introduces himself as Rugence. The man compliments the name warmly, and they exchange greetings as Klaus extends his hand. The older man examines a collection of valuable items, including a pocket watch, a necklace, a ring, and earrings, assuring Rugence he will appraise them carefully while inviting him to browse the shop. Rugence inspects various weapons but realizes his budget of 5 gold coins won't cover any of them. Wandering among the shelves, Rugence picks up an ancient book titled The Memoirs of Botanist Otto. Though unfamiliar with the author and initially uninterested, he finds himself drawn to it. The book is rare and expensive, and despite the high price, he considers buying it if it's affordable at 3 gold coins. Hesta asks Rugence if he can read the characters on the book, and he confirms he was taught since childhood. She hesitates, then quickly brushes off her curiosity. The older man calls out that the appraisal is finished, prompting Rugence to turn back. The older man offers to buy all the items if Rugence agrees to the price. Starting with the jewelry, he lists the prices. The ring at 4 silver coins, the earrings at 2 silver coins, and the necklace at 3 gold coins. Rugence reacts with surprise at the necklace's price as Hesta and Rarf stand quietly nearby. Rarf reacts with surprise as the older man values the sapphire necklace at 3 gold coins. Explaining such a high price is rare, Rarf is scolded for eavesdropping. The older man insists they are negotiating and warns not to interfere. He then reveals a pocket watch, priced at 1 gold coin, presenting it as the final item. Rugence examines the pocket watch, noting its surprisingly low price despite how much his father treasures it. He decides to sell everything except the pocket watch. The older man agrees to the plan without hesitation. Rugence remains silent, contemplating. The older man thanks them for their help and explains that since the goods are stolen, he must offer less than their true value. He reassures them that they benefit as well, so there's no need to worry. When asked if there is anything else, Rugence hesitates but then says he has noticed something. Rugence points out the book he is interested in, holding it up. The older man notes few people pay attention to it but admits he set the price because the content intrigues him and he hasn't touched it in years. Rugence wonders if the author achieved something significant. The older man explains that although the author is not famous or extraordinary, the book's content is a masterpiece surpassing other literary works, at least in his opinion. Rugence admits the book intrigues him but the price is beyond his current means. He hopes the shop will still have it next time so they can sell it to him. The older man suggests Rugence can pay later, trusting he will return with the money. Rugence is taken aback by the offer. He questions if he can really do that. Feeling awkward as a guest selling stolen goods, the older man reassures him that not everyone would make such an offer. He explains the book hasn't sold for years, so taking it now causes no trouble even if payment takes time. Selling the unsold book will still be profitable. The older man presses Rugence to decide if he will buy it. Rugence panics, wondering how he can pay. The man warns that if Rugence doesn't pay, he'll collect the money from Rarf. Rugence considers the deal, saying if Rugence agrees, he has no reason to refuse. Rarf loudly protests, refusing to pay for him. Outside, Rugence thanks Rarf and the girl for their help. Surprised he made more money than expected, he offers to treat them since they didn't eat earlier. Rarf reacts with surprise and embarrassment. The girl suggests it would be better if someone invited them to eat, rather than always searching for things to sell. Rarf agrees quietly, while he admits they haven't earned a single coin today and need to find something to sell. The boy questions if it's too suspicious for Rugence to treat them after they tried to steal from him. But Rujins insists it's just a gesture of gratitude for introducing him to a good place. The boy urges to let Rujins treat them since they have no money. Rujins reflects quietly that even though he has little, having someone to talk to after living alone in the forest for a month, even if they are thieves, makes him feel comfortable. The three sit inside a lively tavern bustling with patrons. Plates of various dishes are served, and Rujins, the boy, and the girl sit together at a table, ready to eat. Rujins devours the food eagerly, surprising the boy and girl. The boy remarks that although the food looks the same as usual, Rujins' dish seems tastier. Rujins explains that during his time in the forest, he only ate unseasoned orc meat and that they should not mention it anymore. The boy expresses amazement that Rujins survived a whole month in the forest without carrying anything. Rujins recounts eating whatever he could find, even drinking muddy water, and warns that eating poisonous plants would be fatal. He casually mentions his skill, toxic resistance, which allows him to survive such conditions. The boy is stunned, questioning how Rujins can mention his skill so casually. Rujins replies that whether he has the skill or not, nothing really changes. Since meeting him, the boy has noticed how easygoing Rujins is. Rujins explains that some with the toxic resistance skill still suffer from certain poisons, just less severely. The girl realizes this is why Rujins wasn't affected by her aural ball, which surprises her greatly. The boy asks if the aural ball is the red item that flew into his eyes, and Rujins confirms it contains a strong anesthetic that would immobilize anyone hit by it all day. Rujins warns about the danger of such items but admits he rarely needs to use them. He suggests Rujins' skill has evolved from mere resistance to complete toxic nullification. Under the night sky, Rujins reveals his plan to become an adventurer, confident his swordsmanship will help him earn a living. The boy reflects that wanderers often become adventurers or criminals. Rujins then questions what the boy and girl intend for their futures, asking if they plan to keep stealing to survive. The boy admits they lack the strength to be adventurers and only have their tainted hands. Rujins advises them to find another way to live, warning that if anyone else caught them stealing, they'd already be in prison. Though Rujins feels his words might be harsh, he insists this is the best path forward. The Adventurers Guild stands prominently under a clear sky, bustling with people inside as they approach the registration desk. A cheerful woman explains that the registration fee to become an adventurer is 1 silver coin. A man places the coin on the counter and agrees to proceed. The woman requests his name and age for magical registration. He gives his name as Chris Sparring and states he is 16 years old. The woman completes the registration with a magical orb, then hands him a card, explaining it records quest information and rank, and serves as identification. She asks if he has any questions. Chris asks if he can take any quest he wants. The woman clarifies that beginners can only take beginner-level quests initially. She explains the ranking system, starting from rookie, then bronze, silver, gold, platinum, mithril, diamond, and above that, rare ranks like orichalcum and hurricane, though those are scarce. She notes rank depends on quest completion rate and appropriate skills. Chris inquires about the abilities required for each rank. The woman details that for rookies, all stats are 10, and each rank roughly doubles the required stats, with bronze at 20 and silver at 40. Chris thanks her and asks another question, but she hesitates, embarrassed, and admits the explanation involves magic. She then asks if he has any other questions, while Chris says he is fine for now, and the woman reacts with a mix of relief and awkwardness. A voice wishes good luck with adventurer work, and a quiet thanks follows. The scene shifts to a forest where a goblin lurks nearby. A quest description appears. Goblin extermination, paying 2 copper coins per goblin, requiring the left ear as proof of the kill. The adventurer recalls failing against an orc previously but vows to land a decisive blow this time. He grips his sword tightly, preparing for the fight as the goblin approaches. The adventurer swings his sword powerfully, aiming at the goblin charging at him. The blade cuts through the air with force, narrowly missing the goblin's attack. Blood drips from the sword as the goblin staggers away wounded. The adventurer watches cautiously, sensing something strange about the situation. He recalls fighting the orc and feeling something different during the battle. Now, even wielding a proper sword, it feels strange to cut the orc in half without any emotion. Standing in the forest, he admits he doesn't understand why, but it seems he's gained some kind of extraordinary power. After becoming an adventurer, he spent 2 months hunting only goblins. Life mostly stayed the same since arriving in the city, except for one thing. A girl greets him warmly, announcing breakfast is ready. He reveals that's when he started living with 2 thieves. One asks to close the door as they head out, and he thanks them. After catching them, they likely felt they'd reached their limit as thieves and visited him a month ago. They agreed to live together in a cheap hostel to save expenses. Both are now adventurers. He doesn't struggle to get food, clothing, or shelter, and they've saved 3 gold coins. His adventurer rank rose from rookie to bronze just yesterday. To verify a hypothesis, he decides to go to the Peisha forest tomorrow. He reads the memoirs of botanist Otto, a rare book detailing discoveries of new plant species and their effects. The most intriguing notes describe unknown plants with incurable toxins. Among poisonous plants, some have extremely strong toxic effects still unclear, yet one plant he has eaten in the forest seems to enhance the body. This sparks hope that he might become stronger. He recalls hearing that the church can write statuses on adventurer cards, wanting to verify his abilities before and after eating some plants. He seeks to know his current status. Since he can't check it himself and it costs 1 gold coin, he plans to use the church's service. At the church, a priest greets him warmly and asks how he can help. The adventurer requests to have his abilities checked. The priest directs him to wait in the next room for a moment, and he thanks him as he proceeds. He silently wishes he could test his abilities himself to avoid spending a gold coin. The parish priest appears, apologizing for the wait and introducing himself as Graham. The adventurer thanks him warmly. The priest warns he has no time for confessions today, but the adventurer insists he only wants his abilities checked. The priest asks for 1 gold coin and the adventurer's adventurer card. The priest performs a ritual with a glowing orb, then excuses himself to attend a holy ceremony. Handing back the card, the adventurer thanks him. The adventurer examines his adventurer card, noting his stats. Physical strength, muscle strength, endurance, magic power, and agility. He sees his special skill as poison nullification, but no normal skills. He reflects that most abilities have only 1-digit values and he's still far from rookie level. Although swordsmanship level isn't shown, these numbers represent his current abilities and strength. He notices the numbers in parentheses and realizes they likely represent the increase in his abilities after eating the strange plants. He wonders if the priest misread the skill, as it says poison nullification instead of toxic resistance. The adventurer contemplates this surprising discovery. Rugence, carrying a large backpack filled with supplies, steels himself and says, "All right." As he prepares to leave, a girl sitting on a bed sleepily asks, "Chris-san, where are you going?" He pauses, surprised by her question. Apologizing for waking her, he explains he has business to attend to and won't be back for a while. Asking her to inform Ralph, he reassures her that he has already paid the rent during his absence. A man lying in bed stretches and agrees to pass on the message. The night sky stretches quietly overhead as the conversation ends. Rugence journeys through a forest beneath towering mountains. He reflects on his recent experience, realizing that without poison nullification, he would have died long ago due to lack of proper food and drink. What he once thought a valuable experience now feels more like a narrow escape. Arriving at a rocky cave entrance, he kneels beside a small insect and notes it doesn't reproduce. He lays down a simple bed of leaves and grass, then carefully picks a small flowering plant, preparing for what lies ahead. Rugence sits in a forest, jotting notes in his book. He reflects on gathering information over the past 2 months from shops and guilds, realizing many plants sold in Realzad are found here. Now, he plans to collect only unknown plant species for verification. He laments forgetting what he ate before, as survival was his sole focus then, and recalling it now would save time. He tastes mushrooms, recalling their flavor isn't too bad. A little taste, but with a sour aftertaste and dry sensation on his tongue. Despite the unpleasantness, it's better than bitter plants. He grimaces in disgust by the campfire. Next, he tries an insect-eating plant, but it tastes sour and rotten. He suffers a strong reaction. Realizing it was an insect not fully digested inside the plant, he doubles over in pain, overwhelmed by the foul taste. Exhausted, he admits the plant is unsuitable to eat but resolves not to give up. His goal is to gather 30 poisonous plant species. He picks a plant thoughtfully, continuing his research under the forest canopy near a rocky cave. He reflects on his initial worries before returning, but confirms the forest is peaceful with no magical beasts. Within a week, he successfully gathered 30 poisonous plants. He resolves to visit again with a more relaxed, vacation mindset. Despite having to eat the unpleasant plants every meal, he continues his efforts. The scene shifts to a grand city where he walks through the streets carrying his harvest. Inside a church, he apologizes to the priest for the repeated visits. The priest confirms no changes in his abilities after only a few days and hands him a card, indicating the check is complete. He anxiously examines the card, worried the plants might have been a waste if his abilities haven't increased. Relief washes over him as he sees his physical strength and endurance have each risen by 1 point. He stands alone in a quiet, sunlit room, reflecting that the plants he gathered in the forest prove some can increase abilities. He focuses on a small device in his hand, determined to identify which plants enhance power. Clenching his fist tightly, he vows to do whatever it takes to gain more strength, convinced that any method is acceptable to reach a higher goal. A frustrated young man yells at another, demanding why he disappeared for an entire week without informing anyone. The man holding skewers calmly replies that he asked Hesta to inform him. The frustrated one insists he heard it from Hesta but should have been told directly. The calm man apologizes quietly while Hesta looks on nervously. The frustrated man presses further, asking where the other went and if he's leaving the lodging. The calm man denies this, telling him to calm down. He offers a skewer to Hesta, who thanks him politely. The frustrated man continues to ask where he went, while the calm man thinks he must explain or the questions won't stop. The calm man explains he had to hide in the forest for a while and recently returned because something was bothering him. He then asks how the frustrated man's adventure job is going. Silence falls between them, and the frustrated man and Hesta both look down sadly, admitting they feel completely useless. The frustrated man laments their harsh living conditions. Hunting 5 goblins a day for 1 silver coin, paying 4 silver coins in rent, and 6 silver coins for food, leaving barely anything left. The calm man encourages him to keep trying despite the difficulty. When the frustrated man suggests maybe they could do something else, the calm man firmly says no, holding a skewer in his hand. The frustrated man insists on forming a party, accusing the other of lying about not having spare money since he even bought yakitori for them. The calm man firmly refuses, explaining his current funds are the result of his hard work. The frustrated man, feeling uneasy, tells them to return the food if his invitation causes tension. The calm man understands but admits he also lacks extra money to help. The frustrated man apologizes quietly. The woman suggests exploiting any value they might have. The calm man asks about their compatible professions and skills. The frustrated man hesitates, doubting anyone would reveal their weaknesses, mentioning they only have ordinary professions. The calm man assures him there's no need for caution, saying he would have killed him long ago if he wanted to. The frustrated man admits he already shared his skill. The woman reveals her compatible profession is wizard, with a skill in magic healing. The frustrated man angrily questions why she told the calm man, but she dismisses his outburst, saying it's fine if it's Chris-san. The narration explains that manipulating magic power is extremely difficult. To cast magic, one must study at a magic school or self-study from magic grimoires. Only the top noble class or those granted the highest level magic profession in the blessing ceremony can attend magic school. Magic grimoires are expensive and require knowledge of ancient scripts to read. The wizard profession is combat-related but the weirdest and most unconventional among them. The girl admits her wizard profession is better than her farmer profession but still unlucky. She started stealing to buy magic grimoires and wants to become a wizard because it has potential. The boy recalls when she asked if she could read a book at the Misfortune family. The girl nervously requests the boy to teach her how to read if she manages to get a magic grimoire. The boy agrees thoughtfully, considering that by learning magic, the wizard profession won't be inferior to high-level combat professions. He thinks Hesta might change in the future. The girl brightens up with a smile and thanks the boy enthusiastically, while the boy looks on quietly. The boy asks about Ralph, but the other insists he won't reveal anything. The girl explains Ralph is a holy knight, with skills like Divine Strike, Divine Guardian, and Breath of the Protector. The boy repeats the title, pondering its meaning. A shining armored figure appears as the narration explains the Holy Knight is a high-ranking combat profession. They can join the Royal Guard and rank among top professions that don't require close-quarters guard duty but can still be adventurers. The girl admits Ralph was seriously injured as a child, damaging his knee and limiting his movement. The boy notes Ralph's poor balance during training was due to his injury. They lament their bad luck, with the boy accepting his long-standing misfortune. The girl comments they might be the only combatants tripping over goblins. The boy denies that Ralph's knee will fully recover, explaining village doctors said it couldn't be completely treated. He clenches his fist, recalling how he searched for other doctors but found no cure. The girl questions why he gave up so easily, but the boy insists he didn't give up at first. They sit together in silence, acknowledging the hopelessness of curing the injury. The man with dark hair confronts the blonde man, asking if his struggles stem from being an abandoned child with no money or status, trying hard but getting nowhere. The blonde man hesitates but admits it won't be long before things change. The dark-haired man then declares both have potential and will form a party together. The girl smiles brightly, while the blonde man looks uneasy. The dark-haired man reflects on how he, abandoned by family due to the blessing ceremony, now judges others by its results. He admits he doesn't feel like teaming up as they are now, confusing the blonde man. The dark-haired man explains he has tasks to complete first and that once they can hunt goblins easily, they can form a party. The blonde man protests, saying he asked to form a party because they can't hunt goblins properly yet, accusing the other of putting the cart before the horse. The girl and the blonde man acknowledge this. Suddenly, the girl's expression turns serious and determined, startling the blonde man. The dark-haired man remains calm, sitting with his eyes closed, while the girl stands firm, signaling a shift in the mood. Otto confirms the decision with a resigned tone, while the blonde man nervously calls out to Hesta, outside the guild. The blonde man declares his desire to take on a quest. Inside, Hesta offers him the chance to try bronze-level quests now available to him. He asks what kinds of bronze-level quests he can take, and Hesta explains there are various types. She inquires if he wants quests involving many or few exterminations, and he replies just a few. She then pulls out 4 quest papers for him to consider. The quests involve exterminating lost cattle birds, baby lizards, bubble wisps in an abandoned village, and hydro slimes near the Mitria River. Otto questions why some quests have designated locations while others do not. Hesta explains that for these quests, killing one individual is sufficient. Hesta clarifies that quests without designated locations come from people seeking materials from specific monsters, requiring hunters to find and exterminate them before returning the materials. Otto confirms that quests with locations involve exterminating harmful monsters. She adds that these quests take time and effort but sometimes offer higher rewards. Otto asks which quest offers the highest reward. Hesta explains that exterminating lost cattle birds pays the most, coming from the meat processing shop and requiring the entire body to be brought back. The base reward is 1 gold coin, but depending on the size and condition, it can pay up to 3 gold coins. Otto reacts with surprise at the high amount. He then inquires about the lowest paying quest, and Hesta says hydro slimes and bubble wisps both pay 4 silver coins. He contemplates that even the lowest paying quest demands defeating just 1 target, equivalent to 20 goblins. He considers that bronze-level quests indeed offer higher rewards. Hesta advises that if choosing by price alone, the Lost Cattle Birds quest is best, but there must be a reason for its high cost. She warns that if hunting takes too long, the reward money might run out. Otto holds the quest papers, pondering which one he will choose. The chapter opens with a quiet, natural landscape under a calm sky, setting a peaceful yet tense atmosphere. Small flying creatures buzz around the dense foliage, while a young man watches cautiously from behind a tree, his expression serious and alert. He spots a large, dark, gelatinous creature partially submerged in the ground and quietly observes it. The creature, identified as a hydro slime, emits a foul stench that visibly unsettles him. Internally, he reflects on his choice of mission, admitting it might be harder than expected. He notes the slime's size, its dark core, and the risk of his weapons becoming tainted by its stench, forcing him to press on despite doubts. Determined, he prepares for a decisive strike, focusing intently as a figure rushes toward the slime. With a swift, powerful attack aimed precisely at the creature's core, he commits to finishing the battle in 1 blow. The slime evades the strike, forcing him to realize 1 blow wasn't enough to defeat it. He charges again, sword ready, determined to finish the fight with another powerful attack. He leaps into the air, swinging his sword down with full force, shattering the slime's core into pieces. Exhausted and wounded, he staggers back from the battle, swearing never to accept such a mission again. The surrounding forest is quiet as he catches his breath, the danger past. Reflecting on his failure with the slime, he notes a month has passed without trouble completing bronze-ranked missions. His days are now spent practicing swordsmanship and studying plants at the healing guild and herb shops. Despite the hard work, he has managed to save up 20 gold coins, earning at least 4 silver coins daily, surprised by his steady progress. Chris is greeted warmly by the shopkeeper, who asks if he's here to see weapons today. Chris replies he came to pay for a book and assures the shopkeeper he has enough money. The shopkeeper suggests Chris pay whatever he can in advance, showing concern about the payment. Chris reflects on how the book Memoirs of the Botanist Otto helped him understand poisonous plants' potential. Grateful to Rugence for selling it, Chris agrees to buy the book. They exchange thanks as Chris hands over the payment. Chris shifts the conversation, asking if the shop sells necromancy scrolls. The shopkeeper confirms they have some, though a bit old, and retrieves a scroll from a drawer. Chris examines the necromancy scroll and questions why the shopkeeper didn't suggest Hesta pay later. The shopkeeper explains the pay later deal was only because he knew Chris, fearing Hesta would run away if given the scroll directly. Chris notes the lack of trust between them despite their long acquaintance, while the shopkeeper insists it's precisely because they've known each other so long. The shopkeeper asks if he will buy the book and how much he will pay. He offers 2 platinum coins, shocked. He realizes 2 platinum coins are extremely expensive, as 1 platinum coin equals 10 gold coins. He never expected the price to be so high. Despite hearing it was pricey, he spent a whole day debating whether to buy it. The shopkeeper admits no one foolish enough to shop in these alleys has bought it yet. The shopkeeper admits he should have asked for money up front due to the cost but agrees to accept full payment later because he trusts him. He explains the necromancy scroll is for Hesta to learn magic, as she currently cannot use it and has no hope otherwise. If she learns even a little magic, she will become a valuable asset. He thinks joining forces with them will benefit him as well. He declines the offer to buy the scroll on credit, unwilling to go into debt for Hesta. The shopkeeper expresses regret, but says if he wants to buy it later, he can come anytime. They exchange thanks before he leaves the shop. He has some spare money and plans to visit the church to check on status changes. He recalls gathering poisonous plants from the forest, drying them, and eating half. The more he dries them, the more bitter they become, making him grimace. He concludes he needs to study more about how to eat these plants properly. He recalls that last time both his endurance and physical strength increased by 1 point. If they rise by 1 more this time, he can conclude the remaining poisonous plants won't enhance his abilities. But it would be troublesome if only one side improves. He hopes it won't be unlucky again. Inside the church, he worries that if the clergy doesn't understand his intentions, they might think he only came to throw money at them. Approaching the priest, he apologizes for bothering him again so soon. The priest notes it hasn't been long since the last ability check. He assures it's fine and that even if his abilities don't change, he won't complain. The priest accepts and says he understands, then declares the check is done. The priest smiles warmly, insisting the determination didn't fail even if the abilities remained unchanged. He hopes the man understands this. The man, however, looks troubled and tells the priest he doesn't need to repeat the same thing over and over. The priest apologizes for being persistent and politely excuses himself. The man reviews his status card, noting his compatible profession as a farmer, with endurance at 11, plus 7, muscle strength at 6, plus 8, stamina at 7, plus 3, magic power at 1, and agility at 4. He reflects that this increase likely results from his own efforts hunting demons for a month. This time, endurance and muscle strength increased by 1 on the left side, but there was no change on the right. He wonders how many demons he hunted in a month, realizing his stats only increased as much as eating. The plants. Among the poisonous plants, one hides the power to make him stronger, though the others do not enhance his abilities. He fears drying them might make them ineffective and decides to eat the remaining 15 types to be sure. Stepping outside, he mutters a quiet comma as the evening sky looms. 2 figures kneel on the wooden floor, a young man and a girl, both tense and alert. The young man with spiky hair asks sharply what the others are doing, his tone demanding an explanation. The girl scolds the young man for speaking out of turn, then insists they now have enough strength to easily defeat goblins and urges him to join their party. At first, they always came home exhausted, but lately they've been spending their time relaxing. It was a lot faster than expected. He thought it was almost time, but it came after all. He agrees to come with them tomorrow to check it out. The 2 thank him and the girl insists, "Ralph, you too." He responds with a reluctant thank you. He considers that if they can easily defeat goblins, forming a party with them would be beneficial, offering grilled skewers. He tells them to try it, and they thank him. Night falls as he studies a book by candlelight. Reflecting on the poisonous herbs he ate today, he notes they didn't enhance his abilities. He decides to disregard these 15 types of plants in the future, seeing it as a waste of money and labor, but necessary for strength. Suddenly, Ralph asks about a pile of dried grass, and the other warns it is probably fatal. Ralph reacts with shock. Ralph demands why he brought such a thing home, suspecting it's for selling leaves to get extra money. The other denies this, explaining the dried grass is for himself to eat. He reassures that his skill, poison nullification, protects him, so it's fine as long as he doesn't eat it carelessly. Ralph protests that even with such a skill, there's no need to intentionally eat poisonous dried grass. When asked if it's really delicious, the answer is a firm no. It tastes terrible. Ralph is visibly scared after hearing this. Heavy breaths fill the air as 2 figures stand side by side. Exhausted, a man struggles forward on crutches, admitting his injured leg is slowing them down. The other, calm and steady, reminds them why they had to leave so early each morning. The man with the injury insists he can walk on his own, but the other orders him to get on his back, warning that he's too slow. He threatens to scrap the party idea if they don't move as a team, leaving the injured man frustrated and flustered. The leader demands a demonstration of their strength by taking down a goblin. The injured man and the girl acknowledge the challenge. With the girl encouraging him to show his usual skill, he confidently accepts, ready to prove himself. The trio moves stealthily through tall grass, eyes sharp for any sign of danger. Suddenly, a goblin emerges, gripping a crude wooden club, alert and ready to attack as the group prepares for battle. The girl swings her club with force, striking the goblin's head as it approaches through the tall grass. The goblin screeches in pain, stumbling back, while the girl stands ready, gripping her weapon tightly. The goblin's eyes widen with a sinister grin, unsettling the girl as she freezes for a moment. The goblin lets out a loud, piercing cry and lunges forward, chasing after the girl who flees swiftly through the grass. The goblin's shrieks echo as it closes in, wielding its club aggressively. The boy narrows his eyes, preparing himself for the incoming attack as the goblin's clawed hand reaches out. The boy intercepts the goblin's charge, grabbing it midair and slamming it down with brutal force. The goblin collapses, gasping and bleeding, unable to continue the fight. The girl watches from behind, clutching her club with relief. The girl cheerfully asks the boy, Chris, how his move was. Proud of their teamwork, Chris, catching his breath, acknowledges the success, noting that although clumsy, they easily defeated the goblin. He reflects on their strategy. Hestia lured the goblin to Ralph, who couldn't run, and then Ralph finished it off. The boy declares they should form a party, surprising the girl and the goblin. The girl cheers enthusiastically, while the boy insists he doesn't need a party now that he can kill goblins alone. The girl scolds him for repeating himself, and the goblin mockingly asks if he wants to spend his life stuck hunting goblins as a rookie. The boy quickly says he was kidding. The boy is told he's counted on from now on, and the girl agrees as well. The boy says he's heading home first and suggests discussing details tonight. The boy protests, asking why they wouldn't want to hunt together after just forming a party. They arrive back at a building where a man greets them with a welcome. The boy and girl announce their return. The boy proudly shows skewers they bought for the man. The man explains he picked up a few things himself since it's the party's first day. The boy protests they didn't need to buy skewers at all. But the man says you can never have too many skewers. The boy and girl suddenly realize something, their expressions turning shocked. The table is laden with exquisite dishes. Pork buns from Saikamanju, sashimi from Marula, and takikomi rice from Maruha Shikudo. The girl and boy stare in awe, overwhelmed by the famous foods they had only admired from afar before. The boy nervously asks if they can really eat all this, and the man assures them confidently that they can. They are a party now. The girl beams happily, while the boy enthusiastically devours a pork bun, much to the man's deadpan amusement. The man turns serious and asks what their goals are from now on. The boy and girl exchange confused glances, unsure if simply eating well is enough. The man presses for a real purpose beyond vague notions of adventuring together. The boy looks thoughtful but a bit overwhelmed. The girl admits she wants to become a mage and earn money, prompting the man to ask if she would leave the party once she starts earning. She hesitates, clearly conflicted. The man says personal goals are fine but wants to know more. The boy protests, unsure what to say, while the girl looks troubled but determined. He clenches his fist tightly, his voice steady as he reveals his true goal: to take revenge on his brother. He adds that if possible, he wants to achieve this while still belonging to the party. The girl reacts with shock and confusion, asking what he means by revenge. The boy asks bluntly if he means to kill his brother, and he confirms with a quiet, firm yeah. The boy challenges him to do it himself if he truly means it, but the man explains he wouldn't say this if he could handle his brother alone. The boy stammers, realizing the brother's identity, and the girl looks on with concern. The man admits his brother is one of the strongest humans alive. The girl wonders if there's a deeper story behind this. He quietly acknowledges her insight, understanding why he fled to the forest. He recalls a moment when he tripped, realizing that if he hadn't, he would have died. The memory haunts him as he admits he can never forgive Klaus and fears that if they meet again, Klaus will kill him for sure. The man understands the desire for revenge, even if it's against family, and the boy admits his stepfather is gone but he once wanted to kill him. Despite this, the boy refuses to help with the killing. The man accepts this, saying just understanding is enough. The boy questions if the dried weeds he found at night were really poison meant to kill his brother. The man denies this, saying the weeds were for himself and that he wouldn't choose such a method to poison the sword god. He was waiting for the right time with a proper party to explain everything. The man explains the weeds are poisonous herbs that gradually strengthen the body by drawing out latent potential. The boy and girl are surprised, having never heard of such herbs. The man claims he might be the only one who knows their effect, warning that unless someone can stomach poison, they would never find out. He then shifts the conversation, asking about their goals. The girl states her goal is to become a mage useful to Ralph and Chris-san, asking if that's good enough. The boy replies that as long as she thinks it's a good goal, it's fine. When asked about his own goal, the boy clenches his fist and declares he'll become the strongest adventurer alive. Recognized by everyone, he exhales with determination. The boy is told that his goal suits him perfectly. He protests not to be mocked, blushing. While the girl laughs, the boy is reminded that his goal matches the others, which surprises him. The boy reflects on his brother Klaus, known as the first true prodigy in centuries, destined to be hailed as a hero. Though he resents Klaus, he praises him. He admits that if Klaus is truly that great, his own goal becomes to surpass Klaus. The girl clarifies that Chris-san's goal is revenge on his brother, while Ralph's goal is to surpass Chris-san's brother. Her own goal is to help both reach their aims. The boy then asks if anyone objects to the ultimate goal of surpassing Klaus, the sword god. And both the boy and girl firmly answer no objections. A holy knight who can barely walk, a mage who can't use magic, and a farmer who's immune to poison. This unlikely trio forms the strangest bond, Together, they give birth to the weakest party. The boy shouts in disbelief, demanding to know why they won't do quests together. The man calmly replies he has urgent matters to attend and doubts they are ready for bronze rank quests. The boy protests, questioning the point of forming a party if they won't quest together. The man sets priorities. First, healing the boy's injury or teaching the girl magic. They agree to work separately for now. The man plans to accompany Ralph to check if his leg can be healed, but the boy worries about the cost of a checkup. The man insists he'll cover the expenses, telling them they must still earn their share. The boy, touched, thanks him, though the man dismisses the sentiment as gross. The man asks what the girl should do while the boy is examined. She is told to research a monster called the stray cowbird. Gathering information on its appearance and weaknesses, she refuses payment, reminding him she's already covering Ralph's exam costs. The man insists on keeping money matters straightforward, saying to avoid messy issues later. He lays out the plan. Work and pay split 3 ways, lodging and meals divided as before. The girl agrees reluctantly to accept payment properly. The man counts on her to handle it. At the clinic, the old doctor asks what brings them today. The boy requests a check on his old injury. The doctor examines the leg and grimly notes the damage is severe. He asks when the injury happened, and the boy winces, saying it was about 7 years ago. The doctor diagnoses the ligament as completely torn, with the meniscus also damaged from neglect. The boy asks if it can really be healed. The doctor affirms it can, surprising the boy. The doctor explains the surgery involves cutting open the knee, grafting and stitching a new ligament, and filling the meniscus with oil from a metal slime. The boy asks the cost, and the man listens tensely. The doctor reveals the procedure costs 20 platinum coins, shocking the boy with the exorbitant price. The boy reacts with disbelief, asking if there's another way to fix his leg. The old doctor scolds him for letting the injury worsen and for forcing the leg despite the damage. The boy looks down, troubled, as the doctor explains that if they had treated it earlier, a potion might have worked. The doctor reveals that reconstruction surgery at the Healers Guild is the cheapest option. The boy asks if there's anywhere else cheaper, while the night sky looms outside. Inside a quiet room, the girl peeks in on the boy lying in bed. She calls his name softly, worried. The boy remains silent as she asks if his injury can't be healed. The man reassures her that it's not hopeless. The man dismisses the boy's injury as foolishness, but explains the guild's surgery costs 20 platinum coins. He recounts the healer's advice to investigate someone named Blood, who might be able to help. The boy listens intently as they discuss gathering information on Blood. Blood was once the best healer in the guild, but he left to work alone, charging exorbitant fees as a wandering healer. Initially, desperate patients sought him out, but as medicine advanced, his skills became outdated. Now, he scrapes by treating the poor in the back alleys of the capital, a harsh fall from grace. Ralph heard all this and, disappointed, sulked over Blood's decline. He wonders if Blood might now offer surgery at a dirt cheap price. The girl, Hestia, realizes this explains Ralph's mood. He then turns to her, saying this brings him to her. He reveals Blood is in the capital, but his brother is there too, and he fears running into him, so he can't go himself. He insists Hestia go with Ralph to the capital to talk to Blood. He promises to cover travel costs. Convinced Ralph can't negotiate alone, Hestia agrees, determined to handle it. The scene shifts to the city streets under a bright sky. Hestia and Ralph walk together, preparing to face the challenge ahead. The towering church looms over the city, symbolizing the weight of their mission. Chris reviews his stats, noting his aptitude class as farmer and his special skill of poison immunity. He smiles, satisfied after countless trips identifying plants that actually boost his stats. With Ralph and Hestia gone to the capital, he headed into Baisha Forest to gather 2 kinds of poisonous plants and maybe find new ones. He describes the first plant, a cute purple blossom that boosts stamina. Though it looks harmless, the carcasses around it reveal it's a lethal poison, a baseline toxic plant. The second is a mushroom that looks poisonous at first sight but boosts endurance. Judging from his stats, Chris believes there should be a plant in Baisha Forest that boosts strength. So far, he's found plants that raise stamina and endurance, but what he really wants is one that boosts strength. The forest stretches out before him, with a cave entrance and trees marking his surroundings. Chris considers looking for a new base, but decides to stay somewhere familiar for now, as there are still untouched plants growing here. No signs of humans, beasts, or monsters appear. He focuses on the 2 plants proven to boost stats, naming them Risengrass and Genpei fungus. He carefully gathers poisonous plants, leaving some behind and recording their locations, though he dreams of cultivating them himself. Living in a dorm makes it impossible. Renting a field is risky. Getting caught growing poison would ruin him. For now, buying a house remains just a dream. He lists the expenses ahead. Expedition costs for gathering plants, Ralph's medical fees, Hestia's spellbook costs, and appraisal of effects. On top of all that, he needs enough money to buy a house. The weight of it all presses on him. No matter what, it all comes down to money. He wishes there were a faster way to earn it. Night falls as he finishes preparing a genpei mushroom stew. He adds genpei grass, which tastes good enough to toss in without hesitation. Yet, a problem lingers in his mind. He recalls Hestia telling him about raisin grass, wrapped in oblate to swallow easily. It's a new market item that lets him consume it without tasting anything unpleasant. It's cheap too, so he can eat it without suffering. A faint smile crosses his face, relieved by this small mercy. For the first time, he finishes eating poisonous plants without suffering. On day 5 in Banished Forest, the harvests are going well with plenty of raisin grass, genpei fungus, and 20 new plants that might be poisonous. He wonders if one of them could boost strength. He recalls staying in this forest for ages without ever encountering a certain threat, so he thought it was just a rumor. Sweat beads on his face as he moves cautiously through the woods. Suddenly, a massive, ominous presence emerges, causing him to cover his mouth in shock. The forest trembles as the threat reveals itself, towering over the plants. A huge, horned beast with flames flickering along its back stands menacingly among the trees, its claws digging into the ground as it surveys its surroundings. He recalls the legend of the Lord of Banished Forest, a name that echoes in his memory. The massive beast before him, with flames flickering along its back and sharp horns, is none other than Decorus. The massive beast is named Decorus. It marks anything it sees as prey, and once marked, there is no escape. It relentlessly chases its prey to the ends of the earth, tearing with razor-sharp claws and crushing bones with its powerful jaws. Decorus lunges fiercely, its eyes locked on the target as it attacks with overwhelming force. Its claws slash through the air, striking with deadly precision. The man pants heavily, hiding behind a tree as Decorus prowls nearby. He curses his luck, realizing everything was going well until this moment. Sweat drips down his face as he knows the beast will find him any second. He admits he can't outrun the creature and decides to strike first, climbing a tree for a better vantage point. He prepares to face Decorus head-on, steeling himself for the inevitable confrontation. The man leaps from the tree, shouting the command to strike now. He drives his sword into the ground with explosive force, channeling his full power into the attack. His position is perfect, aiming from above to use gravity for a flawless strike. Or so he thought. The massive beast's body twists, narrowly evading the blow as the sword slashes through the air. The man cries out in pain as the beast retaliates, its massive claw striking him hard. He staggers backward, clutching his side where the impact landed. The beast roars fiercely, charging forward with a glowing energy in its mouth, ready to unleash a devastating attack. The man braces himself, facing the overwhelming force head-on. The man thrusts his sword deep into the beast's open mouth, aiming to pierce through. As the blade strikes, a cluster of poisonous flowers falls from his hand, wrapping around his body tightly. The beast's eyes widen in shock as it begins to tremble violently. The man's thoughts reveal his fear. If the poison doesn't work, this will be his end. The creature staggers, clearly affected but still dangerous, its body crackling with energy. The man watches cautiously as the beast struggles, its mouth filled with the poison blades. He notes the poison is clearly taking effect but warns himself not to become overconfident. The creature's movements slow, and the man prepares for what's next. He drinks a healing potion, acknowledging the beast's immobilization is a rare opportunity. Though he's far from unscathed, steeling himself, he plans to strike once more, aiming to finish the fight before the beast can recover and retaliate. The man tightens his grip on his sword, eyes sharp and determined as he faces the beast. The creature looks up, its white eyes fixed on him, muscles tensing for the next move. He dashes forward through the forest, sword in hand, the poison flower still visible at his side. His expression is fierce, every step charged with urgency as he closes the distance. The beast roars, flames flickering along its back, and lunges with massive claws outstretched. The man braces himself, sword ready, eyes locked on the charging threat. The creature's paw slams down, but the man swiftly dodges, slashing his sword forward. The blade pierces the beast's paw, and the creature's furious eyes widen in shock as it recoils from the strike. The beast suddenly reveals the attack was a feint, its massive form looming as it prepares to strike again. The man's eyes widen in shock, but he quickly recovers, realizing the danger. The creature's white eyes glare fiercely, undeterred by the failed feint. The man counters by thrusting his sword forward, striking the beast with a powerful blow. The impact sends shards flying as the beast reels back, caught off guard by the sudden counterattack. His expression tightens with resolve as he steadies himself, gripping his sword firmly. The beast raises its massive paw to crush him, but the man stands his ground, eyes locked on the looming threat, sweat beads on his face. But he refuses to back down. Ready to face the overwhelming force, the towering creature's shadow falls over him, its roar filling the air. Flames erupt around the man as he swings his sword in a wide arc, striking the beast with a fiery slash. The beast staggers, blood dripping from its mouth as it collapses to the ground. Defeated but still breathing heavily, the man stands tall, sword raised, victorious but wary of any final moves. Sweat drips down the man's face as he pants heavily, eyes wide with tension. He sits on the ground, exhausted, while the massive creature with flaming spikes on its back slowly approaches, its claws scraping the earth. The beast's immense size and fiery presence loom over the clearing, the man bracing himself despite his fatigue. The man exhales deeply, relief washing over him as the creature collapses, spent and defeated. He leans forward, catching his breath, admitting silently that for a moment, he truly feared it was the end. The door creaks open as a man announces his return. A young woman greets him warmly, calling him Chris-san. Suddenly, both their faces freeze in shock, caught off guard by something unexpected. Concerned voices ask if he's all right, noting his disheveled appearance. Chris explains he was ambushed by a monster in the forest but managed to kill it. He admits to fleeing without even washing up, fearing worse if more monsters appeared. The woman anxiously questions if he's hurt, but he reassures her he only has a sore body from taking some hits. Another man worries the forest is now too dangerous to enter. Chris insists the monster is dead and plans to return, surprising the others. The worried man pleads with Chris not to die on them, reminding him he's part of their party now. Chris downplays the concern, promising he won't die easily. The anxious man brightens as Chris offers skewers, noting despite being a hassle, Chris is easy to deal with. A month has passed since he began hunting stray cowbirds, receiving a monthly payment that averages to 1 kill every 4 days. The first success was pure luck, but over the month he earned 26 gold coins, a decent sum compared to other quests. With that money, his thoughts turn to Hestia. He reveals a mysterious, old book to the group, causing Hestia to in shock and excitement. She recognizes it immediately as a grimoire, clutching it tightly while a companion questions the book's shabby appearance. He explains he bought the grimoire with his savings, warning that if they keep scraping by with goblin hunts, it will affect him too. Hestia and another girl appear anxious, while she calls out to him softly, Chris-san. Tears stream down Hestia's face as she thanks him sincerely, overwhelmed by his kindness in not only protecting them but also buying them things. He brushes off her gratitude, urging her to learn magic and contribute her strength to the party. Tears stream down Hestia's face as she clutches the grimoire tightly, shouting her determination to master magic no matter what. Her resolve shines brightly, and Ralph reflects on how much she has changed since the beginning. A companion asks what a grimoire is, and Ralph explains it's a book that lets you learn magic, though he hasn't read this one yet. Excited, the companion asks if Hestia can really learn magic, and Ralph confirms it, sparking enthusiasm. The companion worries that if Hestia learns magic, he might become the only deadweight left. Ralph questions this, reminding him that he's always been the deadweight but never stopped complaining about it. The companion admits he's scared of that fact, while Ralph teases him for it. Ralph urges Hestia to learn magic first so they can start taking bronze-ranked quests and make real money. Hestia nods, swallowing nervously. The grimoire's text explains that before casting, one must control their mana. A silhouette instructs to imagine a river flowing through the body, then to slow it down and speed it up repeatedly. Ralph explains this is the exercise to control mana. Hestia nods determinedly and prepares to begin. The companion wonders if they can learn magic just by copying, but Ralph feels nothing and grows sleepy instead. He asks Hestia how her practice is going. Suddenly, Hestia levitates, surrounded by glowing mana, startling both men. Ralph and the companion rush to her side, asking if she's okay. Hestia smiles, saying she's fine and believes this glowing energy is mana. She feels she might be getting the hang of it. Ralph warns Hestia not to blow the place apart, but she reassures him this is only mana control, not actual magic. Ralph doubts she can pull it off with just a couple lines of explanation. Suddenly, swirling energy intensifies around Hestia as she levitates, and Ralph warns it doesn't look safe, noting it's getting stronger by the second. Hestia exhales deeply, signaling she'll stop for now. Ralph notes that as expected, someone was granted the class of mage in the Rite of Revelation. The scene shifts to a peaceful village under a bright sky. Ralph explains the key to magic is visualization. Light a candle, watch the flame, then try turning mana into fire. He calls this the training, and Hestia nods, ready to try it now. He asks why the companion is tagging along, who replies he has nothing better to do. Ralph suggests teaching him sword basics while they wait for Hestia, surprising the companion with the offer. The companion admits he's never had proper sword training and that this opportunity means a lot to him. Ralph confesses he hates being outmatched but can't ignore the companion's progress. The companion urgently begs Ralph to teach him, calling him master, catching Ralph off guard. Multiple companions call out to Ralph, begging him to teach them as well. Ralph turns away, clearly uncomfortable with being called master. Saying it makes his skin crawl, the companion mutters that Ralph is as harsh as ever. The companion and Ralph engage in sword training, clashing swords repeatedly. The companion struggles to keep up, stumbling as Ralph easily parries. Ralph reflects that while his movements are smooth, his fundamentals are lacking. He resolves to drill the basics into the companion, noting that once mastered, the companion will grow fast as a holy knight. Ralph is called by name, turning to face the companion. Hestia proudly announces she has lit the fire, impressing the others. One companion exclaims how amazing she is. They wonder if magic is usually this easy to learn. As it's been less than 30 minutes, Hestia asks if she can move on to proper spellcasting already, while a book instructs that the next step is practicing shooting the flame. Ralph questions if she means to skip the basics, but agrees not to stop her if that's what she wants. Hestia says she already has the feel for it, so it's fine. She promises to help Ralph and the companion get stronger, but admits her pride won't let her fall behind, so she must push herself harder.